Come in.
How you doing, Miss Floyd? My name is Preston Rakes. I'm here serving as counsel. Just came to, ask you some questions and validate your testimony.
Okay.
All right. So, could you begin by stating your name, occupation, and educational background, please?
Yes. My name is Jasmine Floyd. I currently work with Charleston PD as a police officer. I have a bachelor's degree in biotechnology from Claflin University, and I'm actually studying forensic science and getting my master's degree at FIU.
Alrighty, thank you, ma'am. Okay, so just to kind of get right into things, can you explain to us what and how serology and DNA tie into one another?
Yes. Serology is basically the screening of evidence for bodily fluids. Mm-hmm. So, say for instance, we found like a shirt at the crime scene. We were screening that to see if any like saliva or blood can be found on that, and we would take that and get a DNA sample from it, and we would check that, compare the DNA sample to known references that we already have in our databases, like against other criminals already that we have in the prisons. We would compare the samples that way. If it comes back unfound, that is not tied to anybody that we do have in custody right now, then we take that and we actually compare it to other DNA samples we do have. So it basically helps with us finding a possible suspect.
Okay, so exactly what is DNA and where is it found?
DNA is basically the hereditary material that is passed down from generation to generation. It can be found in humans and other animals. We have two different types of DNA. You have nuclear DNA, which is found in the nucleus, and then you have mitochondrial DNA, which is passed from the mother.
Okay. So why is the DNA testing done for these criminal cases? I mean, I understand that that you have some criminals, but there's no guarantee that it'll be there. But you still do test for DNA anyway at the scenes.
Yes, that's a must. That's like one of the first things we do when we go to a crime scene. We collect samples and we screen them from. And we do serology with it. We check for DNA samples. That way we can either link a suspect to it, or we could untie the suspect, a possible suspect that we did have previously from the crime. So it's very crucial that we do DNA testing to make sure we don't incarcerate the wrong person.
Okay. So, do you and your lab undergo proficiency testing?
Yes, my lab does go through a lot of proficiency testing. Basically, we do it like every 6 months. Someone will come and evaluate us, and basically they check and make sure. Say for instance, myself, if I'm the scientist in the lab at the time, and I'm doing a DNA analysis, they would basically verify to make sure that I'm actually staying up to standard, and I'm actually following protocol, and I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to do to make sure I properly make sure I get that correct result and be able to give out the correct products.
Okay, so could you very quickly tell me what are some of the results of doing this proficiency testing?
Some of the results is to make sure that our lab stays accredited. If our lab isn't accredited, then we are not going to be approved in order to actually process DNA samples in our lab and actually assist with different local public safety, like police departments and public safety and other law enforcement agencies in the area. So we have to make sure we stay accredited and make sure that we stay up to date with new technology. Okay. So it's a must.
Okay. So, give me a breakdown of quality assurance and quality control.
So, what quality assurance is basically our laboratory SOPs, basic standards that we go by on a daily basis to make sure that we are producing high quality products. And with quality control, basically our day-to-day operations.
Okay. So am I right to assume that you all have some programs in effect at the laboratory?
Well, we actually, in order to do like an insurance program,
Yes, like
Okay, we actually do a lot of documentation. We make sure we document everything. It's a must that we document everything. Along with documentation, we make sure that everybody that's working in this lab do training. We have to do training like every few months. We go to like different conferences, different seminars, and we do. Some of us actually are involved in a lot of testimonies in court. So that's some of the things that we are normally involved in.
Okay. So upon receiving some cases that require DNA testing, what steps do you take to ensure the integrity of that evidence?
Well, the first thing we do is, first thing I do, I make sure that chain of custody is followed. Prior to me signing for something, I make sure the person that's giving it to me also sign and provide their information, document that, hey, they handled this evidence prior to it coming to the lab, and then I would sign up on it. So it's very important that when dealing with DNA samples or any type of evidence, that it goes through as less hands as possible. Like, you don't want everybody tampering with it. It needs to come directly from the crime scene to the lab. So I always make sure that it's that happens when receiving evidence. Also, another thing I do, I make sure that the case number on evidence matches the case that I'm working on at the time, so it doesn't be any confusion when it's time to process evidence and giving results.
Okay. Okay, so what else is it that you do?
I also make sure that the sample has an ID tag on it. Make sure it has an ID on it. That way I can be able to identify what it is, where the sample came from. And that also plays a part with the case number being attached to the sample as well. Along with identifying those samples, I also make sure I store it in a conspicuous place. Make sure I store it and lock it up. Nobody can get to it.
Okay. Yeah, we don't want any tampering.
Yeah, go back to chain of custody is very important.
Okay. So, what assurance is there that this particular policy is being followed?
Well, as far as controlling, making sure that we follow proper SOPs for when we receive DNA samples or when we processing those DNA samples, we actually use known references. We run those samples, like we also test those while we also testing the DNA sample. Okay. That way we can control, we know what our control is, and we can actually see if the test is working properly. Okay. On top of that, we also document when we run into errors. So we document every time we get an error, we document every time we get a good result, and we document also when it's not the DNA sample that we just previously seen from the crime scene, and that is a known reference.
Okay. So, last question for you. Does your lab perform DNA typing, and testify for both prosecutors and the defense? And does that exclude the suspect?
Yes, we do DNA typing, and we do testimonies in court. We do testify in court. Sometimes it does exclude the suspect, and sometimes it actually verifies that suspect did indeed commit that crime. So that's why it's very crucial that we do the DNA typing. We test every DNA sample that we get.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you for your time, and thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you.
All right. You have a nice day.